Ho ho buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head. We are in the middle of the A Disease That Leads to Slaughter route. And I think we left it with Takumi inside his shipping container home. Going mad because he thinks that there's a bunch of people taking pictures and laughing at him outside. He ran here because there was a shutter noise and he turned around. It seemed everyone was pointing their phones at him and taking pictures. I think that was the idea. And he's like, holy fuck, I gotta get out of here. I'm paraphrasing. And then he runs home and now he can hear that there's also noises here on the outside. And he thinks Shogun is outside laughing with all his friends taking pictures. Essentially is what's happening. And now he's going to open the door and see if anyone is actually there. And lo and behold, there will be nobody. Or there will be 100 people. Let's find out. Even if someone had been there, surely they wouldn't be there anymore. I positioned myself by the door. There was a padlock on the inside, keeping the door locked. Retrieving the key, I stuck it inside the padlock. But I didn't have it in me to turn the key that easily. My heart was pounding out of my chest and my nerves refused to calm down. I was terrified. The mere thought of opening my door absolutely terrified me. This could have all just been some total bait. Someone could be outside right now, biding their time as they waited with bated breath for the opportune moment to strike. I wanted to tell myself that something like that would never happen to me, but it was pointless to even try. I'd been deceived over and over again, and I couldn't take it anymore. I was so tired. Why couldn't I just be left alone? Why did I have to endure these horrible, absurd trials? They were just too much for me. Fuck. Fuck. Fuck! I slammed my fist into the door with a loud bang. The noise resounded incredibly loudly, and my hand immediately hurt like hell. Not a sound came from outside. There were no signs of anyone being out there. There was nobody there. Of course there was nobody there. You'd have to be stupid to think there was somebody there. I bit my lip so hard. Blood slowly began oozing out. And with that, I somehow found the strength to remove the padlock, and then I slowly opened the door. In an attempt to investigate, I peeked my head out from my base. There was nobody there. It was still as death. Nothing moved. There was no sign of Shogun's creaky wheelchair, nor his laugh, nor the cell phone camera shutters. Nothing. Is anyone there? I waited for a moment, but there was still no response. But of course there wasn't. There was nobody there. So of course nobody would reply to me. That was just common sense. Nervous as could be, I began to check even further outside, shifting my gaze toward any shadowy areas I could see. Yeah. No one was there. Everything I'd heard, I'd hallucinated. All repeated extreme stress had caused me to start breaking down. Yeah, that made perfect sense. I'd just gotten scared and ended up losing it. Look at me. Tearing up. God, what an idiot! I can't believe how stupid I am. The sheer stress I was feeling left me trembling as I laughed at my own pathetic state. Look at this dumbass. It was laughable. Really. I couldn't help but lol. Man, I was so worn out. Going back into my room, I left my Serotan figure soothe my soul. Next, I sat down at my PC and logged into Freepara. That was where I checked for new updates in the Bloodtune community. I could also see if my friends posted any status updates. A sense of dread was building within me. Something wasn't right. The list of my friends' statuses popped up on my display. None of it was from any friends whose names I typically saw. From somebody called Spider. The list had been bombarded with a single name, posting over and over again in quick succession, burying all other posts. That friend's name being Spider. Did I even have a friend with that handle? Well, I'd be lying to myself if I said I knew all my friends. I had over 100 of them, so it'd be stupid to make that claim. It looked like Spider had written around 15 entries in the past 30 minutes or so. Uh-oh. They're all to do with me making my way back to my container, are they? When I saw the titles of the posts, I gulped. Before I knew it, my throat had gone completely dry. For one reason or another, I was stuck with an immense sense of déjà vu. When I saw the titles, I had a feeling that I knew exactly what the contents would be. With trembling fingers, I moved the mouse and clicked on one of the entries. This has to be the front of this very building. The post had contained a single image, and by the looks of it, it had been taken by a cell phone. There was no text, nor anything else in this post, just the image. There was no doubt that this photo was of the Kurenai conference hall. It seemed to have been taken at night, too. That can't be right. It was just my mind playing tricks on me. I forced a dry smile as I clicked on another post. Oh, shit. There's no way. Despite me crying out in disbelief, even I could have predicted what was to come just by reading the title. And yet the horror gave rise to countless goosebumps across my skin, each bump like a stewing bubble of sheer dread. Those noises, they'd just been hallucinations, hadn't they? The sound of the wheelchair, the sound of Shogun's laughter, the sound of cell phone shutters. Had those sounds actually been real? Had someone actually been outside my base, until only a short while ago, taking pictures and uploading them with their phone? The latest post was titled The Man of the Hour. The timestamp read 12:14 AM. And right now it was 12:21 AM. The last status update had only been 7 minutes ago. It's not real. It can't be real. Who was the Man of the Hour supposed to be? Who the hell could it be? I really didn't want to look, but I just couldn't bear not to. I'd never be able to calm down otherwise. I quickly snapped my gaze to the door and back. I had to make absolutely sure the lock was on correctly. And right after I did that, scared as could be, I clicked the latest status update. It was a picture of me. Just a moment ago. I'd opened the door to see who was there. I thought nobody was out there. But someone had been outside. Scary. Oh, scary. Okay, we're back with Kozue. The one halting her, a classmate. No. The one halting her was a classmate of hers. Ninomiya Manako. Oihara, mind if we talk a sec? Kozue winced at the clear animosity laced in her words. Moreover, Manaka was not the only one there. 5 girls stood behind Manaka, lying in wait. All of them were her classmates, but Kozue was unable to recall their names and faces. Yeah, I knew you wouldn't mind, so you come in. As she remained unresponsive and unsure what to do, Kozui's quivering shoulders were then shoved, not by Monako, but by one of the other girls behind her. Come on, say something. We're getting bullied here, I don't like this. Feeling entrapped by the crowd of girls, tears began pouring from the corners of her eyes. Her captors were quick to take notice, growing even further agitated. Oh, give me a... There's no way you're fucking crying. Just come on already. She refused to go with them, for she had had a horrible feeling about the events to come. But when they grabbed her by both arms, she knew that she no longer had a choice in the matter. They brought her out to the rooftop. 10 more girls were waiting up there. Nearly everyone was a classmate of hers. When she realized this truth, Kozui was left deeply confused. Kozui could predict very well what would happen from this moment. She could acutely feel the intense malice directed at her from those present. Kozui shook in fear with the sheer amount of negative delusions flowing into her. Despite her best efforts to endure, her tears simply would not stop flowing. Is she crying already? Whoa, really? You can't be serious. Even though Kozui had only just transferred to this school, her peers held nothing back in the barrage of insults. Of course, she was well aware of the bitter hatred the girls felt for her. Try as she might to block out their inner voices in the classroom, the utter animosity that they held was not something she'd been able to ignore. But despite such contempt, nobody had ever approached her in this manner before. She tried to run, but being surrounded by so many of her classmates left her no route to escape with. Sure. Hey, you ain't going anywhere. Monaco's trying to talk to you here, and you're gonna listen. Prompted by her classmate's threat, Monako glared toward Kozui with intense hatred. Monako's demeanor was that of a tall, rigid model, providing a heavy contrast to Kozui's small, petite frame. Now, listen here, Arahara. Keep your whore-ass eyes off Daisuke. Oh, is that, she's supposed to be, his, girlfriend. Got it? Despite them talking as if she should have known it, the name Daisuke was not one she was familiar with. But these words that would defend her would never leave her mouth. She simply made herself small, shrinking to the ground in order to withstand the fierce chaos and confusion. You hear me? Batch. Cut the bullshit. I know you're trying to get your hands on my boyfriend. Kozui frantically shook her head in denial. She had no recollection of this person at all. Then, she at least realized that the person they spoke of was her classmate, Masumi. If that truly was who she was referring to, then Kozui never had any intention of leering at him. In truth, it was quite the opposite. His entirely overt ulterior motives were nothing but a source of vexation to her. Nobody likes you. You know that, right? You've been a real pain in the ass ever since you got here. Hey, why ain't you talking? You trying to act cute or some shit? I told you. She's totally fucking with us, disgusting shit stain. Or could it be you've got no problem talking to the boys, but you haven't got the slightest interest in talking to us? Or are you just not in the goddamn mood? Whore. These are bullies, guys. Say something, you ugly bitch. Batch. They pulled her hair. They struck her face. They shoved her shoulders. There was no escape. They would not let her. Bullying. Beating up. Kozui shuddered in fear as those words floated through her mind. Save me. Senna-shan. Save me. Takumi-shan. Her inner voice cried out, but it was clear that help would not arrive anytime soon. Before she'd even moved here to Tokyo, this was how it had always been. No matter how much Kozui wished for someone to help her, It would never come. She had no choice but to bear it. If it were only this much, she could bear it. But that thought was just as transient as the last. From somewhere she could not quite discern, a noise faintly began to echo. The faces of her classmates immediately lost all expression. Each and every one of them reached into their jacket pockets in unison. Oh, they'd been mass hypnotized. And then as they had planned it beforehand, they all slowly retrieved something from within them. Oh, is it a mirror? Each person. Held a handheld mirror. Mirrors of all manner of shapes and sizes. Simultaneously, each and every girl turned the surface of the mirror toward Kozuri. It was like a cult performing a ritual. Within each mirror, Kozuri could be seen stricken with the utmost terror, each silver screen reflecting a girl with eyes convulsing uncontrollably. Who are you? The nightmares that had once plagued Kozuri began to resurface. She was losing the self she knew. She could not stop trembling. She shook her head violently in denial. Her eyes wandered between each mirror. As her head shuddered and shook, the convulsions seizing her eyes continued. No. Kozuri tried to scream, but could only muster a feeble cry. Oh. Is she blacking out? I'll kill you, 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 I'll kill you. The dominance of dark, sickly delusions began to enshroud her mind. She then became cognizant of the D-sword clutched tightly in her hands. A faint beam of red light shone across the blade, flickering with a delightful shriek. Not a hint of its brutality was left concealed. Its mere aura fiercely intimidated all those who beheld it. Everything before it fell to ruin. Everything before it was consumed. Everything before it returned to nothing. And now, as it settled, her sword resided not in delusion, but in reality. Her once expressionless classmates awakened from their trance, greatly alarmed by what was unfolding. But by then, it was far too late. Ah! Tears pouring down her cheeks, Kozuri let out a scream. Her eyes could no longer see. With a single step, Kozuri staggered forward. Effortlessly, she raised the D-sword above her head. At the present moment, it was Minako who was in her path. What came next would be appropriately referred to as an immediate bisection. Oh god, okay. From the left arm to the right shoulder. Her body was ripped apart. In regard to what had happened to the girl, the word slash would have been far too disingenuous. Wow. Sickeningly extreme amounts of blood burst forth from her body. As she raised the D-sword aloft, this time, Kozuri staggered backward. It was as if the sword itself had drawn her back. Her body moved about adroitly. Okay, new word. Who this? Who dis? Adroitly. Her body moved about adroitly? Does it mean clumsily? No, it means in a clever or skillful way. I guess that kind of makes sense with the next bit. Almost as if it were dancing. Despite her remarkably petite frame, she swung the gigantic sword around with incredible ease. Despite being far past death, Minako's corpse was further desecrated in obscene acts of violence. The freshly split blood, no, The freshly spilt blood danced in the air along with Kozui and her sword, dyeing the concrete crimson. Kozui, sapped of any remaining strength, collapsed seconds later in unison with what had used to be Minako. She was sobbing her heart out, the tears forcing her eyes to remain closed. Faced with that horrific display, her classmates stared in a daze, their mouths hanging agape. Not a single one moved from where they stood. It was as if they could not comprehend what had just occurred. Swaying slowly, Kozui returned to her feet. Oh no. Her head hung low as convulsive sobs assailed her. Pointed directly at her petrified classmates, blood trickled from her D-sword.
I'll kill you.
The very next moment, innumerable shrieks ripped through the air, before disappearing into the sky forever. Did she kill them all? Walking as fast as I could, I headed directly for my school. I kept my eyes out for anyone at all. If someone even dared to approach me, I'd run away as fast as I possibly could. I'd been hyperventilating for forever now, wheezing again and again, my throat desperately gasping for air. The sweat beaded endlessly on my forehead. No matter how much I wiped it away, it just kept on coming. I was just going to school. I was just going to school so I could get Kozui to help with whatever the hell this was. I needed her to fight the bastards that were trying to break me. Kozui would definitely do it. She was completely broken herself, after all. Well, that's the attitude, Takumi. I wanted to kill them. I wanted to kill them. Shogun and his cronies needed to fucking die. There was no doubt in my mind that the people at my base yesterday had been Shogun and his underlings. They were finally cutting the bullshit, and now they were gunning to finish the job. They targeted me, begun their extensive mission to wear me down, and now they were moving in to kill me in the sickest, vilest, most disgusting way they could possibly imagine. I couldn't take it. I didn't want to die, so I had to kill them before they killed me. Ooh, that sound again. Yesterday I'd heard the same exact creaking sound behind me. I whipped around, wincing in anticipation of what might come, and yet not a soul was behind me. There was no wheelchair in sight. It couldn't have been a hallucination. I'd heard it right fucking behind me. Was Shogun still attacking me? I broke into a mad dash. No way in hell was I going to stand around all alone. And yet, it followed me. The sound clung tightly to my back. I could hear it directly behind me as I ran. Stop it. Get away. Stop chasing me. Don't look at me. I was about to snap. I no longer had the stomach to take another look behind me. I stumbled my way to the school gate. The bell still hadn't rung yet. I was on the verge of being tardy, but I could still see the other students here and there. Just looking at another person was enough to make me flinch. But if I didn't go into the building, I wouldn't be able to find Kozui. Steeling myself, I entered the school grounds. When I heard something once again, oh, and it was that shutter. But it wasn't a wheelchair this time. It was a cell phone shutter. My gaze shot all around myself. Who the hell? Who'd taken the photo? Nobody was looking at me. Nobody had a cell phone out. Ugh, what the fuck? What the fucking fuck? I covered my ears and without looking where I was going, I bolted. Without stopping even once, I finally made it to the classroom. I was about to burst into the room only to frantically stop dead in my tracks and turn right back around. The class DQNs were all assembled in there. The second my eyes had met one of them, I'd given up completely on going in. God damn it. This world was plagued with my enemies. Every single person was my enemy. All of you should die. Every fucking last one of you should die. Since I couldn't go in the room, I opted to just turn around and keep walking. Maybe a delusion of blah, 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 blah. Maybe a delusion or two about massacring those DQM pieces of shit would cheer me up. I'd only glanced in the room, but I hadn't seen Kozapi. Actually, there hadn't been any girls in the classroom at all, because they're all dead. That was pretty strange, actually, but I still couldn't care less. All I cared about was figuring out where the hell Kozapi had wandered off to. Of all times for her to completely disappear on me, it just had to be now. I was still wheezing from before, my breath violently forcing itself in and out of my lungs. When they saw me like that, the other students walking down the hall stopped and stared. Don't look at me. That sound again. Looking back, I saw 4 DQN guys that I hadn't noticed before. They all had the biggest smirks on their faces, each one of their cell phones trained on me. Don't look at me. Ignore them. Kozapi can just kill them later on. A delusion like that sounded so exhilarating. Every last one of them dying a horrible death. I'd had fucking enough of this world. Kozapi still was nowhere to be found. I had no clue where she was. Maybe she just hadn't come to school today. But if that was the case, then what was I supposed to do? I really doubted that I could fend off Shogun's attempts to break me, especially for a whole day. I'd been pretending to be tough inside my head this whole time, but my knees were still shaking uncontrollably, and if I didn't stay focused for even 1 second, I'd likely sink to the floor and just stay there. Kozapi, where did you go? Where the hell did you go? Please just save me.
Help.
Startled, I stopped dead in my tracks. I'd heard a voice. A voice in my head that had felt like it had come from right next to me. Someone's inner voice.
It's not Kozapi's fault. It's really, really not Kozapi's fault. Help.
Kozapi, where are you? Looking around, I saw Kozapi squatting down near a corner by the entrance, cradling her head. The moment I saw her, a gasp forced its way from my mouth. Her entire body was a deep crimson, as if waves of red from an ocean of blood had crashed down upon her. No, it wasn't simply as if. She was undeniably covered in a ridiculous amount of blood. I wanted to scream, but my voice had stopped working. Kozapi, say something! Kozapi! When I called out to her with my inner voice, Kozapi slowly raised her head. Tears were flooding from her eyes, leaving them red and congested.
Takumi-san.
Without getting up from the ground, she grabbed onto my shirt. She clung to me as if her life depended on it. What are you...
Takumi-san, are you Kozapi's enemy? Or her friend?
What's that supposed to mean? I tried to ask again, but she just buried her face in my chest and shook her head from side to side. The reddish-black blood coating her entire body seeped into my uniform and slowly spread through it. I never realized how small Kozapi truly was. Her body was so fragile, it felt like I might break it at any moment. Only when I'd embraced her had I finally come to realize this. I'm your friend, Kozapi. That's why I came to you for help. I only said what was on my mind. I was being fairly selfish, but Kozapi was the only one I could turn to.
You won't be a bully to Kozapi.
I'm not going to be a bully to you. The guys bullying me are my main concern. That's what's more important here. Anyway, I need your protection.
But Kozapi can't protect Takumi-san, you know.
What do you mean? You have a D-sword.
But I can't handle him very well anymore.
Him? What, your D-sword? As I asked that inside my head, Kozapi nodded. She then nestled further into me.
So that's why... Takumi-chan, all that bing-bang, crashy stuff, none of it was Kozapi's fault.
Oh? Without warning, I was hit with a fierce impact. Images burst into my mind like an intense montage of flashbacks. The school, its rooftop, the fierce rusty smell of blood, a sea of blood, endless chunks of meat strewn across the concrete, disconnected, disjointed hunks of flesh that I couldn't identify, and Kozapi, standing in the middle of it all, her breathing heavy, and a D-sword in her hand. Whoa. I then snapped back to myself, shocked. What the hell was that? And we're going to find out what the hell that was next to my Borderline Games. Thank you so much for watching this. Chaos Head. At this point, I say it so badly, it may as well just kind of devolve into nonsense. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head, and I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.